In what's being called Orwellian, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer just announced mandatory digital IDs. Take a look.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
British civil rights activist Emily Emanuel joins us now. So Emily, what was your reaction to Starmer's announcement?
Well, really, truly, completely shocked, but also not surprised. Keir Starmer has been a terrible, terrible prime minister right from the beginning. And I've never seen actually the UK population in such uproar against a prime minister in the time that I can remember anyway. So I am not surprised that he's trying to pull something out of the bag that will try and get him some popular votes, although it's probably going to be completely the opposite. And if you didn't see, or I don't know if you've touched on this already, but there was a march a couple of weeks ago that had over 1 million people come along to it, which was in protest of these things that he's implementing and the state of how the state of the UK is at the moment with illegal immigration, with just this high kind of control of government. And so there's almost like a revolution going on in the ground in the UK at the moment because people are just sick and tired of these policies that he's implementing.
Well, you know, what's interesting is, obviously he made this announcement and he painted it in a way that this would help curb illegal immigration. But a lot of people online are saying, wait a second, you're saying these digital IDs where you won't be able to, buy or sell, sounds a lot like what we hear in Revelation 13 when it comes to the mark of the beast. People are wondering, is this like a precursor to that? So let me just read what the Bible actually says about that, and then you can draw the dots together if you think they fit. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. Then the next verse says, "This calls for wisdom." So it does seem like a precursor, right? You cannot work without said digital ID. Obviously, I will let you, my friend who's watching this, connect the dots if you think that they are there.
Is Vietnam the testing ground for the new banking order? Well, recently, Vietnam imposed a requirement for a digital ID, including a biometric scan of everyone in order to have a bank account. And what they did to enforce this is they closed 86 million bank accounts and seized all of the assets in those accounts. So the owners of those accounts have no ability to do banking or access their funds because they chose not to sacrifice their privacy and submit to this biometric surveillance tracking mechanism. Well, this is not something that is going to stay in Vietnam. This is a test because if we look at, for example, what's going on with the European Central Bank and digital ID initiative in Europe, as well as the Real ID and the CBDC system FedNow being imposed in the United States, we can see that it is coming to us as well. So what are you going to do about it?
And I've explained that if you sign up for digital ID, it'll be the last really important decision you make, because your digital ID will be the only thing that your governments, institutions, and anybody authorized by those holding power will recognize you through. So you won't exist anymore. You'll be replaced by a QR code. You are not a number, you're an address to some resources. And that makes it particularly dangerous because those resources can be edited, and one of those fields for sure will be your vaccination status. And I'm absolutely sure, because I've seen it written down in multiple documents, that your digital ID will only remain valid if you comply with the conditions of validity. So one of them will be, have you had your latest recommended or mandated jabs? And because of the fact that I'm qualified in toxicology and worked for decades with others in what's called rational drug design, when I look at these jabs, the constituents, I am certain, formally certain, that they were designed to hurt you. And so, the digital ID will lose validity unless you roll your sleeve up. You must see that's designed to injure and I believe ultimately kill you. But you won't be able to escape that because all your money will also be associated with your digital ID. So let's say you've gone to a supermarket, you want to buy a drink and a sandwich. You'll beat them through and it'll say, how do you pay? And it'll say, present your digital ID. And the cash register, as it were, the cashless system, won't proceed until you show it your QR code. And if you're not vaccinated, and if that means your digital ID is not valid, it will say, sorry, transaction refused. The merchant will not be able to sell you the product. So you can see how difficult this is. Now, a valid digital ID, just like a valid passport, is today required to cross a border. And I have no problem with a passport, of course. But I'd be pretty cross if to buy petrol I had to show my passport, or to buy a bottle of water I had to show my passport. But that is what's coming. You'll have to show your digital ID. If you said hurty words on the internet, you might find that your digital money doesn't work. If you're outside of your 15-minute zone and you're not authorized to be, you will not be able to buy anything. That's what's coming. It's the ultimate tool of slavery, the digital. It's called the digital gulag by other people. I think that's not a bad phrase. And the way to stop that happening is to put your foot down and...
Aware of the risks in handing out data to companies like Optus and Medibank, but what if you never had to reveal your address ever again? New South Wales is leading the way with a one-stop shop, allowing us to prove and protect our identity once and for all.
It's personal, private, privileged, and prized by hackers.
We've seen what happens in relation to Optus and Medibank.
Now, new ways for a new world to give the power back to the people.
What we're rolling out in New South Wales is world-leading technology.
A digital identity that means you'll never have to hand over your data again. It works like this. You'll use an app to scan your passport, license, Medicare card. They're cross-checked with databases to ensure they're yours, and then appear on your phone as verified ID. You then have control over what you share and with whom, revealing only part or all of a document when required, meaning you'll be able to prove a valid license without showing your address.
All they need to know is that you are real and that you're authorised to drive.
Or confirm you have Medicare while keeping your number unknown.
Those numbers, as we've seen in the recent spate of attacks, will not be shared.
The personal data is kept only on the personal device, never held by the government or a private company.
When you decentralise and you put the information in the power of the individual, it's far safer.
The technology will be optional for users, but not for companies and businesses, with the government set to make it illegal not to recognise the ID.
Ultimately, we will need legislation to make sure that the companies play ball and that they accept this.
Amelia Brace, 7 News.
China's new COVID health code has been accused of being a new tool for monitoring Chinese people. On Thursday, November 10th, China released the 14th five-year plan for national health informatization to speed up the national health informatization construction. According to that plan, by 2025, China will have in place a national health information platform support and guarantee system with unified authority and interconnection. According to the plan, the authorities would have full monitoring of every resident's health information, and each person would have an electronic health code for himself or herself. Since the pandemic began, China has strictly imposed and maintained a zero-COVID policy. It is a measurement accused of limiting the movement and freedom of Chinese people using the electronic health code. Electronic health is often compared to an electronic shackle. With the latest announcement, Chinese netizens are worried they would have to wear such a shackle for another 3 years. There are 3 types of health codes: red, yellow, and green. Rules for health codes are different in each province or city. But Hangzhou City in Zhejiang province stated that red codes mean quarantine for 14 days, yellow codes mean quarantine for 7 days, and green codes mean no restriction. Some Chinese local governments use yellow or red codes to restrict people from traveling or force them into quarantine. Some places use yellow codes on a large scale to force people to take nucleic acid tests. Some places use red codes to control dissidents or rights activists. According to some analysts, China's zero COVID policy is not to curb the pandemic, but to tighten social control. This is one of the negative sides of the health code. One video shows a scene on the street of Wuhan City on Thursday, November 10th. A seriously ill person lying on the road was not allowed to enter the hospital just because he had a yellow code.
At Simprints, we aim to revolutionize the fight against poverty and disease with biometric ID technology to ensure that every vaccine, dollar, and public good reaches the people who need them most. Inspired by the struggles of frontline health workers in Bangladesh in 2015, we built biometric technology to connect digital IDs to health records. We've grown into a trusted biometric technical assistance partner for impact, empowering organizations to address aid and healthcare delivery challenges. Our open source Android app enables frontline workers to enroll, identify, and verify individuals using biometrics. With support from Gavi, ARM, USAID, the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, and many others, we've reached over 3 million people in 17 countries, reducing fraud, empowering health workers, and ensuring critical services reach their intended recipients. Recognized for our solution design, innovation, ethics, and workplace culture, we've published learnings, including a groundbreaking resource on ethical biometric technology adoption. As we celebrate 10 years of impact, we're preparing to test and deploy AI deep learning models for life-saving vaccine delivery. By 2030, our goal is to help deliver essential services to 20 million people in Bangladesh, Ghana, Ethiopia, and beyond.
Such as paying half price for the bus.
I get discounts for all public services, even at museums. And the library is free for me, thanks to my school.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date. Among them is this journalist Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. He only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
Liu Hu is among a tiny minority of people who have dared to criticize the system, which some are calling a digital dictatorship.
I worry, because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedoms, and all of us will live with restrictions of one kind or another.
After our meeting, Liu Hu learned that his name had been removed from the blacklist, but he still has a long way to go if he doesn't want to languish.